Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are on chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, and reading from text 10. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mam upashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavam agataha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger. Being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me. Many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me. And thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So the goal of human life is to revive our love for God. Love for God is in each and everyone's heart. It's there in all of us. We just have to revive it. We have forgotten it because we are thinking we are the body now. We have forgotten we are eternal parts and parcels of Krishna. So Krishna is saying that there are many people in the past, how did they attain their love for him? Is because they took shelter of him, absorbed in him. Their minds are attached to his lotus feet. Minds have taken shelter at his lotus feet. And in this way, they got pure knowledge because they understood him. They're getting knowledge of him. When we come in contact with Krishna, when we are associating with Krishna through his name, through his deity, through prasadam, by hearing his instructions, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, what we are doing is we are associating with Krishna because Krishna is on the absolute platform and Krishna is completely pure. And by associating with him, we get purified. You know, like it is said, Bhagavatam says that association is like a crystal. It takes on the color of who we associate with. You know, our hearts take on the qualities of persons we associate with. So when we are associating with Krishna through his holy names, through hearing his instructions, then what happens? Krishna is all pure. So we get purified. So he's saying many persons in the past, they've become purified and thus they attained transcendental love for me. But what do they, and also what did they do? Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger. Because they understand that they're parts and parcels of Krishna, that they are spirit, soul, not the body. So then they understand that everything belongs to Krishna. What happens is when we think this thing belongs to me, then I get attached to it. And then if somebody takes it from me, I will be always fearful that somebody will take it from me. And if somebody really takes it from me, then I will be angry. You know, so it all starts by thinking that it belongs to me without understanding, hey, I'm not the body, you know, I'm just the soul here inside the body. Everything belongs to Krishna. So let's read the purport. As described above, it is very difficult for a person who's too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the supreme absolute truth. Too materially affected means not able to understand that there is actually a supreme Lord, there is an absolute truth. Because when, if my mind is just absorbed in my daily activities, and I'm just so engrossed in them without questioning why, what's happening, what is all this that's happening around me and why is it happening? So if I'm just too attached to this body that I am in, to everything that I think is mine, then I'm not even going to question. So generally, people who are too attached to the bodily conception of life are so absorbed in materialism that it is impossible for them to understand how the Supreme can be a person. For many people, it's very difficult to understand that the absolute truth is a person. Very difficult. This is by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we have been given this knowledge in a very simple and clear manner. So it's easy for us to understand, oh, all right, the Supreme Lord, he's a person, you know, and the Brahma Jyoti is the light coming from his body, and the Paramatma is his feature, and he's the Supreme Absolute Truth. So Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya, they have made it easy for us. So, but then there are some, if I'm too attached to this body, just too attached to the body, then what happens? I'm unable to accept that the Supreme Lord, that the absolute truth can be a person. Such materialists cannot even imagine that there is a transcendental body which is imperishable, full of knowledge, and eternally blissful. So then what happens when I am so much absorbed in body consciousness? Then I'm not even able to understand that there is a difference between the material body and then there's a difference between the spiritual body, because um, I'm in the material world. So my mind is limited and it is material. So if I'm just going to use my material mind and think what I'm thinking, that's it. That's all in all. So what's going to happen? I can't understand the spiritual with my material mind, right? Because how can I think of the spiritual with a material mind? I can't. By myself, I can't. Cannot reach to that point. So unless I hear from someone, but I'm so busy in my body and thinking whatever is connected to the body is mine, and I need to continue doing these things, that I don't have time or the inclination to hear anything else, I will not be able to hear the transcendental knowledge. And then what's going to happen? I don't know that there is a spiritual form, that there's something that can exist that is not material, because my experience and my whole consciousness is so engrossed in the matter in my day-to-day life. I'm unable to understand that, oh, there is a spirit soul, oh, there is a Supreme Lord, and he has a form, and his form is Satchid Ananda, full of knowledge, full of bliss, and eternal. In the materialistic concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance, and completely miserable. So this matter, the body that we are in, the body is temporary. At one point of time, we have to give it up. We may not want to give it up, but we have to give it up. So it is going to perish one day. It will perish. And this body is ignorant. Why is it full of ignorance? Because it is just made up of the material elements. It's just made up of material elements. Where's the real knowledge? Where's the true knowledge of the soul? It's not there. And because I think I am.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
This ignorance and material, the word you just said, ignorance and material elements, how is it connected?
So they see the material concept is that I'm just thinking that there is nothing beyond these material elements. My knowledge is only limited to the material elements. And so that is ignorance, right? Because what is the real knowledge? That, hey, I'm not this material elements. I'm not this body. I'm not. I'm the spirit soul. That is knowledge. Does that make sense?
No, I'm not judging anything. I'm just saying that if I have to understand the actual meaning of the word ignorance, it's only related to the fact that if I consider myself, if I consider my body as a whole, then that is complete ignorance, or I'm like doing some other activity and ignoring the real meaning of life. That is ignorance.
I'm sorry, what you said, that if you can consider your body.
Ignorance in actual terms is related only to myself, or ignorance can also be in the material world in other aspects, like okay, I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about other things, and I am being ignorant of the very fact, like whatever is the reality, I'm just trying to avoid that and ignoring the fact that okay, it has to be in that very particular way. But no, ignorance, if I say, how will I frame it? 1 second. Ignorance, if I say like, okay, I am the material, I'm this body, and I am not the soul. That is one kind of ignorance. But isn't that whatever is happening around me and not happening in the way it is supposed to happen? Even that can be also called ignorance. Like, if I'm supposed to, like wake up, if I'm supposed to have a wake up in the morning early, like, instead of waking up later, like, in the afternoon. So even that can be termed as ignorance, right?
Yeah, but you see, the reason you're waking up late in the afternoon is because of the root ignorance, right? Because I'm thinking I'm this body.
So my question is that the ignorance should be only related to only one thing, that is that when I am ignoring the fact that I am not the soul, I am just the material body.
Exactly.
Only that should be the definition of ignorance, or it can be in any layman's term, like, what I just explained about morning.
So knowledge is understanding that I'm soul. And knowledge means what? Understanding who I am, who is God, and what is my relationship with him.
Okay, so opposite of knowledge.
When I don't know this, I don't know who I am, I don't know who's God and what's my relationship with him, that is ignorance. So then, because I am in ignorance, then all my other activities will be in ignorance, right? So because of this, because I'm in ignorance, the effects will be, I will engage in ignorant things. Is that okay?
So everything which is not related to Krishna is ignorance?
Yes.
Okay, so that's easy, no?
Yes. Yes. That's easy, yes. And so because whenever we are acting, whenever we are talking, we are doing anything, any activity when we are doing, we forget. We have forgotten that.
But I do achieve success. I do achieve temporary happiness by performing anything apart from Krishna conscious activity. So what is that? Like, temporary ignorance, or that is like permanent ignorance?
So you mean like some sort of sense gratification? We need that, no? Because we are thinking we are the body, right?
Yeah.
We are
why will somebody
body.
Why will somebody choose that route to Krishna consciousness if he's already having achievement in his material life?
So then we will think that there will be there's somebody who's enjoying his senses, should be the happiest person. But we see the case is not. Sure, somebody enjoys their life for maybe half an hour, 1 hour, or if somebody likes to engage in one activity and they're finding enjoyment in that activity, but if you tell them to do that activity for 24 hours, they won't be able to do it. So the enjoyment which we receive in this material world is very temporary.
But we are not even Haridas Thakur now, who used to always chant for 22 hours.
We are not supposed to. Nobody is asking us to chant for 24 hours. Krishna is not telling us that. The whole premise of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you do your duty and you offer the results to me. That's the whole premise of the Bhagavad Gita. He's saying you continue doing your duty wherever, whatever position you are in society, do your duty very well for my pleasure. And the result that you get, you offer that to me. So whatever position we are in, whatever position.
So not doing that very thing is ignorance. Can I say that?
Yes. Yes.
Though I'm achieving material success, but I'm offering it to God, I am being ignorant.
Though you're achieving material success and then?
I'm not offering the result to the Lord.
Yes, that is ignorance. Yes.
Or that is ignorance, or that is like being thief.
So why are we being thief?
Because we are ignorant. Okay.
Yes.
Haribol. Thank you.
Haribol. So then, therefore, people in general keep the same bodily idea in mind when they're informed of the personal form of the Lord. So now we are thinking that this body is going to die at one time, and there's diseases in this body. Then there's defects, right? Our senses have defects, no? Our eyes are not perfect, or our ears are not perfect, So then when we think, so because our experience is only of this body, and when somebody tells us that, oh, the Supreme Lord is also a form, then what happens is then I start thinking, oh, the form of the Supreme Lord is also material like mine, because I have a material form. So I think the Supreme Lord is also, if he has a form, means that form is also material. So then for such materialistic men, the form of the gigantic material manifestation is supreme. So then what happens is then, because I think, oh, all the forms are material, any form that I see is material, then what happens? Then I see this whole universe, this universal energy that is doing, that is the supreme. This material energy is supreme. Why? Because for me, I'm looking at everything from a material point of view. I'm not able to understand that there is something beyond matter, that there is something spiritual. So then, of course, I will just see this. I'm just seeing this full material energy. So I think, okay, material energy is what it is. Material energy. That's why we say, oh, the source, the material energy is the source, or the material energy is, the universal energy, like that. So this is coming from a material experience. Consequently, they consider the Supreme to be impersonal. So then what happens? That then if I have this idea, I am not able to understand, and I think that the Supreme Absolute Truth does not have a form. It does not have a form, because in my mind, I have this idea that anything that has a form is temporary, and anything that is a form is miserable. There's disease, there's old age, there's death, and then and what else? That if I have a form, it's ignorant also, because my senses are not perfect. So the knowledge I'm acquiring with this form is incomplete. So then that means, what am I thinking? I'm thinking that I am this body. So and then that's the reason I'm not able to understand that there's something spiritual. So, and because they're too materially absorbed, the conception of retaining the personality after liberation from matter frightens them. So then what happens? Then I think, I don't want to have a form. I want to be liberated, and I do not want to have a form, because a form means frustration. A form means misery. So when they are informed that spiritual life is also individual and personal, they become afraid of becoming persons again. And so they naturally prefer a kind of merging into the impersonal void. So then if I have this mindset, what will I say? That, oh, no way, man. After I give up this body, when I get liberation, I don't want to be a person anymore. I don't want to be an individual anymore. I just want to merge into the divine light, as it said. Because I have such a bad experience of this material world, I have such a negative thing, that everything to do with matter is completely terrible. And anything to do with a form, anything to do with a form is completely terrible. So becoming formless, something which has no form, means that's very good. Okay. So generally, they compare the living entities to the bubbles of the ocean, which merge into the ocean. That is the highest perfection of spiritual existence, attainable without individual personality. So then what will happen is, then I will have the desire that I merge into the Brahma Jyoti, into the divine light, because I'm so afraid of being a person anymore. For me, a person means material. And, and so I don't want that anymore. So I prefer to be nothing. I just prefer to become some kind of an energy or some kind of a light, you know. So furthermore, there are many persons who cannot understand spiritual existence at all, being embarrassed by so many theories and by contradictions of various types of philosophical speculation. They become disgusted or angry and foolishly conclude that there is no supreme cause and that everything is ultimately void. Now, I suppose I'm hearing now different people have their different philosophy. Oh, you know what? I'm going to tell you what's the absolute truth. I'm going to give you the key of life. And then I keep on hearing these different philosophies of different people, and I really don't know what's happening. And people are becoming, I'm getting confused by hearing this. And so I'm like disgusted, I'm angry, I don't know what's happening. And so then I say, better for me to think there is no God. It's easier, simpler for me to think there is zero. Nothing is there. After I die, everything will become zero for me. It's just easier for me. So such people are in a diseased condition of life. Some people are too materially attached and therefore do not give attention to spiritual life. Some of them want to merge into the supreme spiritual cause, and some of them disbelieve in everything, being angry at all sorts of spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. So Prabhupada is telling us that all these three stages are diseased condition of life. It's not the natural position of the soul. What is that? That I cannot think anything beyond this body. I think I'm the body, and I just need to enjoy myself here in this material world. In this world, I don't even know what material or anything. This is it. I'm going to enjoy as much as I can. And because I'm enjoying so much, or I'm so involved in my life, I don't care, or neither do I have the I don't care about trying to understand that there is something called spiritual life or spirit soul. Or if I'm frustrated from a form, I say, no, any form, I don't want to be an individual anymore. Being an individual is what's giving me the frustration. I don't want to be individual anymore. I just want to become formless. I want to be nothing, you know? And if I just get angry and I say there is zero, everything's going to become zero. So the before one is when I want to become nothing, I want to go inside the light, you know, I want to be in the divine light. And then another case is that I'm so angry and so frustrated. Someone saying there's some light, someone saying no light, someone saying God is a form. I say, I don't believe in anything. Everything is zero for me. So this last class of men take to the shelter of some kind of intoxication, and the affective hallucinations are sometimes accepted as spiritual vision. And then and because I'm frustrated, I might start taking intoxication. And with that intoxication, I'll get some kind of a psychotic experience, which I think is spiritual. So one has to get rid of all three stages of material consciousness: attachment to material life, fear of a spiritual personal identity, and the conception of void that arises from frustration in life. So we have to, really think, okay, attachment to material life. Okay, I have to give up this deep attachment to material life. Also, I have to give up a fear of having a spiritual life, that, oh, I will continue to remain a person. I have to give up that fear, because I may be so frustrated in my experience in a body that I don't want to be an individual anymore. And so I'm fearful to continue remaining an individual. And so I say, nothing doing. I don't want that. So I have to give that up. I have to give up this fear. And what else? I have to give up the frustration. I should take this research deeper, try to understand what is actually happening instead of just getting frustrated. We take so much effort in trying to get some kind of, if I want to buy something also, we do so much research, so many reviews, we read so many websites, so this, that expert, that expert. We do a lot of research. We don't get frustrated in that. Similarly, for spiritual life also, we shouldn't get frustrated. We just need to keep on researching, have a sincerity that I want to understand the absolute truth. To get free from these three stages of material concept of life, one has to take complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master, and follow the disciplines and regulative principles of devotional service. So then how do we get free from this too much enjoyment, this attachment, the deep attachment, or the fear, or the frustration? What do I have to do? I have to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Take shelter of the Supreme Lord. And under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. A bona fide spiritual master is someone who has been empowered by the Supreme Lord. He's a representative of the Supreme Lord. Not anyone and everyone is a bona fide spiritual master. So I have to search out the bona fide spiritual master. And then I have to follow the instructions of such a spiritual master. Follow the do's and don'ts. And in that way, take complete shelter of the Lord. And what's going to happen then? I will be free from attachment, fear, and this frustration. So the last stage of the devotional life is called bhava, or transcendental love of God. So what happens is, just by hearing from the spiritual master and following his instructions, I will come to the highest stage, love of God, transcendental love of God. And that is in the heart of each and every living entity. Each of us has love of God. It's not that only certain people have it, certain don't, or it's only not that right now the souls who are in human forms have it. No, even the souls who are in animal forms or in the bird bodies, they also have it. But they're not able to revive it right now because the body does not allow it. It's only in the human form of life that we can try to understand the spiritual knowledge. So according to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.4, 15 to 16, the science of devotional service, Adav Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sango, Tatha Bhajana Kriya, Tato Anartha Nivriti Syat, Tato Nishta Ruchis Tataha, Ashaktis Tato Bhavas, Tataha Prema Bhyudanchati, Sadhakanam Ayam Premanaha, Pradur Bhave Bhavit Kramaha. So how the whole process is very easily described by Srila Rupa Goswami, who's one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. He's the leader of the Goswamis, and he wrote a book on devotional service called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is very, very voluminous. And so our Srila Prabhupada, he compiled it in a more concise manner and gave us the essence of it in his book called Nectar of Devotion. That's in English. So what Srila Rupa Goswami is saying, in the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire for self-realization. So just a slight desire, try to understand, who am I actually, what's happening? Let me try to find out. Just a very slight desire, preliminary desire, Shraddha, that is Shraddha. So just some tiny glimpse, like, oh, let me try to hear, let me see what's there. This will bring one to the stage of trying to associate with persons who are spiritually elevated. So because of this desire, what's going to happen is I'm going to try to find the people who know something about, who know this knowledge, Then what will happen? I'm going to be associating with them. I like to hear from them. I like to hear from them then. And then when I've heard enough, I've heard enough. So this is sadhu sangha, right? Sadhu sangha. Then sadhu sangha, and then I will get the desire, I will get initiated by elevated spiritual master. And under his instruction, the neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service. The process of devotional service begins by hearing and chanting. So does it mean that, oh, for if I am not yet initiated by a spiritual master right now, I shouldn't hear and chant? No, we hear and chant and hear and chant and hear and chant. You know, that will bring us to the point of initiation. And so because devotional service begins, bhajana kriya begins by hearing and chanting. That's the reason we are trying to associate with the devotees. We are trying to hear from, and what does associate means? We hear from the devotees, hear what the devotees are saying. And the devotees will say, you hear and chant and remember Krishna, worship the deity. So that is bhajana kriya, devotional service. By execution of devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, one becomes free from all material attachment. So what happens if I continue this process of hearing and chanting, remembering Krishna? All my attachments in the heart will go away. Anartha nivriti, that's called anartha nivriti. And then I will be fixed in the position of self-realization, fixed, that no more material attachments. I understand I'm a spirit soul. And you know, that steadiness is there, that firm faith is there already then. This happens just by hearing chanting, everything will come. And then as the devotee continues to hear and chant, he's continuing. So he's already now situated on this steadiness and self-realization. He's already situated on this liberated platform, and he continues to hear and chant. Then he acquires a taste, ruchi. He acquires a taste for hearing about the absolute personality of God, Sri Krishna. So we'll say, but I'm also hearing now. But we are hearing now because sometimes, you know, we are being forced to hear, or sometimes we feel, oh no, it's good for me. Let me hear, you know, let me try to hear what's being said. You know, we might have some taste, of course, some taste will be there, but this is like really, we can relish that. The devotee is able to relish hearing about Krishna. Then this taste leads one further forward to attachment for Krishna consciousness. So as the devotee, he's liberated already. He's continuing to hear and chant. He's getting the taste. And then what happens? He gets attached to Krishna. He gets attached to hearing and chanting. He cannot not hear and chant. And then gradually what happens? He continues to hear and chant, and then he gets bhava, emotion for Krishna. It's a preliminary stage of transcendental love of Godhead. Means love of God is almost there. So before that full-blown love of God is there, there is that emotions. Emotions are there. And so this is called the bhava stage. It's like, it's explained like before the flower fully opens, the bud starts opening. So that is compared to this stage of bhava. And then real love of God, love for God is called prema, the highest perfectional stage of life. This is when the full flower is fully bloomed. The heart is full of love for God. That's the perfectional stage of life. In the prema stage, there is constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So when a person, he has achieved this love of God, what is he doing? He has this loving reciprocation with the Lord, loving relationship with the Lord. So by the slow process of devotional service, under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, one can attain the highest stage, being freed from all material attachment, from the fearfulness of one's individual spiritual personality, and from the frustrations that result in void philosophy. Then one can ultimately attain to the abode of the Supreme Lord. So we are being shown that just hear and chant, continue to hear and chant. And then as we hear and chant, our material attachments will go, our fear of remaining, continuing to remain as individuals will go away, our frustration will go away, and our hearts are going to be full of this love, our original love, which is then every individual that will bloom. It's all by hearing about Krishna. From Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, when we say hearing and chanting, what do we have to hear? Hear about Krishna, the Supreme Lord, from Bhagavatam, from Bhagavad Gita. When we say chant, what do we need to chant? Chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And by hearing and chanting, we will get the highest perfection of life and attain to the abode of the Supreme Lord. We can go back home, back to Godhead. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Anything to add or any questions or comments? If no, then we'll stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.